Hello guys, how are we doing and welcome back to the channel. As a lot of you may know already, Black Ops 6 Ranked Play uses a hidden MMR system to determine how much SR you get for a win and how much SR you lose for a loss. If you're getting anywhere around the 30 mark for your win and a loss, it's pretty much telling you you are where you should be. It's said you belong here and you're about there, so we're not going to make you go up as much as you believe you maybe should do. Similarly, if you're earning more than 30 SR for a win, you probably aren't at where the game thinks you should be yet. Your hidden MMR, your target SR, is beyond you so far. And on the flip side of that, if you're losing more than 30 SR for a loss, the game's pretty much telling you you're above the rank you probably should be based on the hidden skill rating it has for you. Now, thankfully, thanks to Exclusive A, shout out to him, they've realized that you can actually request data from Activision to tell you what your hidden skill rating is, or your hidden MMR, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today's video. We're going to be looking at the relationship between the hidden MMR in ranked play and what you have in public matches to see how maybe camos have affected it. And we're going to be looking at the relationship of things like KD, score per minute, accuracy, and all those things towards your skill rating. And then finally, and the most importantly, we're going to be looking at how you can manipulate your skill rating to go up and what can cause your skill rating similarly to go down, because obviously that's what you want to try and avoid. If you want to know and you want to get your own data to do a similar analysis like I've done today, you can do so using a link down in the description. You've just got to basically request a data request. They send it out within a week or so, and you can, if you're decent with spreadsheets, and you can manipulate your data, let's get it to a stage similar to what I've done here. So the first question we're going to go through is, do public matches affect ranked hidden, I'm a little bit covering there, hidden SR? I'm going to give you the short answer. It's no. And the reason for that is because we're going to take a look at this graph right now, okay? So the red line we've got here is the public match SR. So you can see the game got launched, it had around a 600 SR. When I say SR, within this all of today's video, it's going to be this hidden SR, this hidden skill rating, okay? Started around the 600. I did some camo grinding. You can see I've got a dark spine on a lot of my guns I use in my videos, and that's why this has gone up and down. It's a little bit higgledy-piggledy. But as soon as ranked play released, which is what this blue line represents, the first ranked match I played, I started on the hidden skill rating of where my last public match was. And then as soon as I played a few games, it spiked me up to a new baseline. And then as you can see, it started its own little pattern. And then every time I played a public match, you know, when I was playing with some friends or something, I then the game resorted me back to this separate skill rating because I was then playing public matches. So again, does public match affect hidden rating within ranked play? No, they're completely separate as soon as you've played your first couple of matches. We're now going to be looking at the relationship between different statistics in SR. So first of all, this is what the graphs are going to look like. So the skill rating is a little bit curved, so it's not all up and down, so it's a little bit more easy to read. And the skill rating is the red line. There's a straight red line that runs through it that gives you an idea of the trend, so it's a slight decrease. And then in this slide, you've got the score per minute, which has a similar pattern. Okay, so it's higgledy-piggledy, up and down, up and down, up and down, maybe based on certain games and whether I had played more control or hardpoint in any case. And this is just for respawn as well, because I didn't want S&D to affect this. But you can see here, the general trend line for score per minute is slightly down, and my skill rating is also is coming down way more than my score per minute. So you could say that score per minute maybe has a slight impact on your skill rating. Now, it's obviously, as we go through these slides, it's obvious to bear in mind that I'd have started in bronze and climbed all the way through the ranks. So obviously, as I'm playing more difficult opponents, my statistics are generally going to go down. So skill per minute, that's pretty much how it looks compared to my skill rating. Engagement. So this is the amount of engagements you come across in a match, how many gunfights you have, and the way it's worked out is assists plus actual kills plus deaths is your engagements, give or take, okay? And you can see it's pretty flat. It's usually around the 55, 60-ish mark, around the 50, 55 mark, and it's relatively flat. So you could say it really doesn't have much impact on your skill rating. We're now going to look at the accuracy. So accuracy for me has remained relatively flat, and I would say it hasn't gone down as much as my skill rating has. So you could argue it's not an important factor, although it probably is a little bit of a contributor to it. And I'm sitting around at 30-ish% accuracy to obtain about a 500 skill rating. Okay, but as I say, it's not a strong correlation here. Interestingly, my KD or my EKIAD, just going to differentiate these quickly for you two. EKIAD is eliminations. KD is without assists. So this is kills with assists divided by deaths. This is just kills divided by deaths. Okay, so obviously the EKIA is going to be higher. So as you can see here, again, I started in bronze and got to iridescent. So it does take a little bit of a dip, obviously, because I'm playing harder opponents. But you can see here, the lines, the trend lines for my KDs, both of them have come down significantly more than my skill rating. So you could say that these have a heavy burden or heavy correlation to skill, although something's still holding my skill rating up, and it's probably because I'm playing better and better people, and as a result I'm still able to get a positive KD against them, so it's not just diminishing my skill rating massively. So that's probably the strongest correlated one versus my hidden skill rating. I've also looked at KD difference, so this was an interesting metric, again introduced by Exclusive A, so shout out to him. This is essentially the difference between how many kills I get and how many deaths I have. So, for example, if I went 40 to 20, that is a KD difference of 20. Okay, so it's 40 minus the 20 deaths. And although while that's a 2 KD, that's a 20 kill difference, so it could be a little bit of a different metric. Whereas on the other side, if I went 10 to 1, although that's a 10 KD, that'd only in this graph be a 9 KD difference. Okay, so that's just a quick factor, and it goes up and down massively. And obviously, there's going to be S&Ds in here, which are going to affect this. But you can see this has dropped significantly throughout my career, but nowhere near, and skill rating hasn't dropped anywhere near as that. So there's a couple of interesting metrics that you might think do affect your hidden skill rating. You obviously got to bear in mind, I'm at different ranks throughout this period. I'm going to be playing different sort of levels of people, so on and so forth. But I think the story here is that they all contribute at certain points towards your hidden skill rating. We're now going to be looking at my journey. I'm going to move me up a bit. We're going to be looking at my journey and how hidden SR affects rank. So I've not aggregated the data now, so the lines are a little bit more up and down, a little bit sharper peaks and a little bit deeper troughs, or dips, whatever you want to call it. But you can see here at the start of my career, this blue line shoots straight up, and the reason why, and these colors represent the ranks. Now you've got platinum, diamond, crimson, and iridescent. There's this big space here because I've been in it for a while. But bronze, silver, and gold are a slither. I've managed to get out of it quite quickly, thankfully, which is why you can't really see that as a chunk in this graph. So you can see throughout platinum, I was around a 550 hidden skill rating. It goes up through diamond to nearly 600. And then as I start to get to crimson, you can see it drops significantly down to about that 500 mark. And then it stays relatively consistent, although it goes up and down a couple of times throughout iridescent. Now, what's interesting here is at no point through my ranked play career in Black Ops 6 have I been Harrz. Like, I have yet to only get 30 SR for a win, and barely got a 30 SR for a loss. So that's the game basically telling me my hidden skill rating is still higher than iridescent. So if you're wondering, what does my hidden SR need to be, or hidden MMR need to be to hit iridescent, I would suggest about the 400 to 450 mark. And that's if you download your data and you find yourself getting 400 to 450 within ranked play, not pubs, obviously, because it's completely different, I'd suggest the game probably thinks you should be iridescent, and it's just about the grind. Obviously, as I say, throughout this, you can see there are some massive dips. There's a dip in December, a couple of dips in crimson, and then there's 2 significant dips through iridescent, but it's not all bad news. You can see there are clearly some peaks that we can learn from as well. You've got one that at the initiation, so obviously where I just started playing ranked play, and it was like, oh, he's actually not bad, let's jump it up. Over here, a little peak going into iridescent, and then a peak halfway through my iridescent journey. And we're going to be looking into both a couple of those dips and what causes those dips and what has caused those ups as well, more importantly probably, in later on in the video. So we're now going to be quickly looking at my statistics. Okay, so you can feel free to take a look at these in your own time and pause the video if you wish to do so. I'm just going to move me up even further. But we have essentially my rank down here, how many games I've played, score per minute, the hidden SR, my win percentage, accuracy, all sorts of statistics. But there's a few things I want to point out. First of all, interestingly, my win-loss overall as a lifetime career is only 41%. On average, throughout my history of ranked play, I win 4 in every 10 games played, which is not a great statistic. So that tells you it's not all about win-loss, okay? The game's more likely, which you're going to see in a second, the games are likely going to hinder you for being the cause of the loss, more than it would be that if you were, even if you tried your best, you lost, it's not going to hinder you that much. I have gone up in skill rating, even though I've lost in some cases. Interestingly, accuracy's gone down as I've leveled up. And that's probably because I'm doing a lot more pre-firing. Interestingly, my KD's got quite high, around the 2 mark for EKIA, which includes assists, and around the 1.8, 1.7 mark for regular KD, meaning my lifetime KD is about a 1.26. But if you're looking at the rank play leaderboard, which includes assists, is about a 1.6, which on average I think is pretty good. And iridescent is about a 1.53. Now, what's interesting, there was one statistic that has gone better throughout my history, throughout my rank play career, and that's my headshot percentage. Clearly, I've improved as a player as I'm playing better people, and as a result, I'm hitting more and more heads. I'm going from about a 10% headshot percentage to about 15%, which is actually just a 50% increase, actually, which I think is pretty impressive. Now, the reason I'm showing this is because some of you may be in platinum, or some of you may be in gold or diamond or whatever, and you're thinking, what do I need to do to get out of it? So these are the statistics, easy for me to say, that have got me out of these ranks. So for example, in gold, I got an 80% win ratio, had an average of 32% accuracy. My elim to death ratio, which is what you'll see on the leaderboard, was over a 2, and I had about 50 engagements. So if you're doing that and you're still in gold, you probably deserve to be out of it, or you're not quite achieving that, the game might not get you out of it as quickly as it would have me. Similarly, if we take a look at diamond, because I know a lot of you guys are in diamond, I only won 1 in 3 games, but I had an accuracy of 29%, went on a decent couple of streaks. My longest skill streak was 12. My KD is a 1.6, 1.7 within the leaderboard that you'll see, and I get on average of 56 engagements with a 14%, give or take, headshot percentage. So again, if you're in diamond and you're not quite achieving these statistics every time you pull up the leaderboard, that might be why you're still in diamond, essentially. Okay, although I'm here now, obviously, so it's a little bit different. So yeah, might be interesting. Some of you might not. So we're now going to be focusing on what causes the hidden SR dips, and we're going to be focusing on 2 main dips. The one that jumped me down to my current rank, which was at the start of Crimson, and then one that hit me a little bit later on through my iridescent career around the January 5th, 6th or 7th mark, all right? So, interestingly, got a little bit of a zoom in of the graphs here, whether just to show you what it is. On each of these lines on each of these dips, we've got a baseline, which is the period before, which is what you're seeing here. We then have the first dip and then the second dip. So you can see here, the baseline period and this green is this little line, then the third and fourth dip all the way back down to here, and we're going to be looking at why these dips have happened here. Similarly, on this second example, this green baseline is pretty much this level here, and then these 2 days, 8th and 9th, boom, again a massive dip down to this level. So what can we see here? So you can see here my period, the baseline of this one had about a 1.8, 1.5 KD, 30% accuracy, 1 in 2 win-loss ratio, about 50%, and a decent elim KD difference with nearly 60 engagements. Now, on December the 3rd, I lost 21 hidden MMR because, as you can see, my stats are horrendous compared to that original baseline. My win-loss is worse, my score per minute is worse, my accuracy is worse, my KD's dropped significantly. All these stats are lower than that, and that's why the game's gone, okay, not quite as good as we expected, let's drop them down. You've got to remember that within ranked play, the game tries to put you against players of a similar hidden MMR. So the fact that I'm playing against this level and then suddenly I'm doing badly against them and I'm playing worse against them, it's going, okay, maybe they're not that good, let me drop them down a couple of pegs. Similar thing happens on December the 4th. I dropped 34 MMR, so you can see how in these 2 days I go from 554 to 499, which is a 10% drop. My stats remain about the same. It's about a 1.5, 1.2 KD. My limbs do get slightly better. My headshot actually does get slightly better, but because it's nowhere near at this peak before, it doesn't think that I can jump back up there. I'm not quite hitting this where this green is. I'm not quite hitting those stats, and as a result, even though I'm getting the wins, interestingly, because I'm not individually performing as well as I should do, and maybe I'm the cause of some of the losses, or maybe I'm being carried for some of the wins, it's not jumped me back up to that level. Okay, that's an interesting thing. A similar thing happens here. I'm not going to go over each thing individually, but a similar thing happens here where the baseline is considerably better statistically as an individual. You can see my win-loss is worse, which is, again, really interesting. And it improves in January. It's January the 9th. But my skill rating, you can see, drops from a 526 skill rating to a 450 or 449. So that's a massive drop there. And what stats do go down? Obviously, win-loss goes up, so that's not much to do with. That's a thing you should probably throw out the window. Score per minute drops, accuracy drops, KDs drop. My KD difference drops. I actually go negative on January the 9th, which is obviously why I got a massive drop in skill rating. And that's actual KD, not EKIA death. Obviously, if you have a negative EKIA death, you're definitely going to be negative KD-wise. And my engagements were just less, okay? My headshots accuracy was less as well. So interestingly, you might go, but you've won. Why have you not gone up in skill rating? And that's because, or you've got more wins. That's because maybe I've lost against worse players than me. Maybe I've won against worse players than me. You've got to remember as well, it takes into account the rating of the player you're playing against to determine how much hidden MMR you go up or down in each of your wins. Now, interestingly, on the 3rd, my biggest loss was 10 hidden skill rating in one game. So that's a massive dip. That was with a negative KD. I had, although I had high engagements of 73 and a score per minute of 332. December 3rd it still lost me 10 SR, still 10 hidden MMR. On the December the 4th, my biggest loss was 20 hidden MMR. So out of this minus 34, there was one that dropped me 20. And that was an S&D. I went double negative. I had a good score per minute, so I probably had some plants and stuff, and also really good accuracy too. The game essentially said that we lost because I had a double negative KD. I think it was 5 to 10 or something like that. We lost because I couldn't win those gunfights. So that's the game basically saying you need to be dropped down a peg because of that. On January the 8th, my biggest loss was 25 hidden MMR. I went down 25 skill ratings due to one loss. It was a respawn. I went 3 to 17, was against hackers, obviously. So that's a 0.18 KD with no headshots, had really low accuracy because I was trying to shoot pre-fire people, and that dropped me down incredibly like minus 25 hidden MMR is huge. A few of them and you've dropped 100. That's massive for some people. January the 9th, again, my biggest loss was 22 hidden MMR in one game. It was a loss. It was an S&D. I went 2 and 8 again against hackers, and I had again really low accuracy and no headshots. And those two things, although it's only one game, it really shows you if you have one bad game, the game's going to be like, whoa, what's going on here? This isn't good. They're clearly not at the level we thought they was. Let's drop them down. Realistically, you should be going at about level KD wise to maintain your hidden MMR. If you go negative, and I'm on about actually negative, not your EKIA deaths, unfortunately on the leaderboard you can't see your actual KD, frustratingly. But you can see I lost 10, 20, 25, 22 just for one game, so it's quite big jumps just from a single bad performance. So they're the dips. We're going to be taking a look at these peaks as well. Obviously, the first one is just establishing a baseline based on the performance in the first few matches. I think I've got a 200 SR or 200 hidden MMR gain in one of these jumps as well. So we're not going to be looking at that. That's just because it's trying to set my baseline. We are going to be focusing on these two. So the period before is this little 1 day here, which is in the red on this one here. I get a 22% win-loss, skill rating of 478, 28% accuracy, blah, 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 blah. But you can see on December the 12th and 13th, those 2 days, I jumped up quite considerably. And that's because my score per minute was higher. I won more games. I wasn't the reason for as many losses, okay? My obviously skill rating went up by 75. My accuracy was better. I got a 31% accuracy within those 2 days, which jumped me up. My KDs were better, marginally. And my headshot percentage was better. Everything about this was better. And the fact that I was performing, even though my KDs were not that much different, I was winning more, so it jumped me up. Maybe I was winning against harder people. Maybe I was losing against ridiculously harder people. Those sort of things all contribute. And unfortunately, we don't have the data of the players we played against, so it's hard to say. Another example here is the period before, I think, was about this level. And then January 1st to the 5th, you can see it sort of jumps up slowly. And although I go down win-loss wise, my score per minute decreases, I went up 47 skill points within those first few days. My accuracy is about the same. My KD is about the same. So what happened? And this is what I want to really highlight here. No stats have really changed from the period before to the period after. So what was likely happening was the fact that the game was realizing that I was playing just the same, maybe against harder people. That's probably why it's a little bit more of a gradual incline rather than a straight incline, was because, you know, it was testing me. It was going, okay, let's put you up here. How'd you get on? Still doing well. Put you up here. How are you getting on? Still doing well. Let's keep climbing you because you're still playing at this level. You're not getting worse, even though you're trying to play better people. That's likely what's happening. Now, interestingly here, on December the 12th and 13th, my most gained MMR was 10. I only gained 10 within that period, even though it jumped up massively. And the average gain per game was only 3. The 10 match was a 2KD 3-0 match on control. I had a 36% accuracy with a 25% headshot rating. So that's really good performance. But again, it's only put me up 10. In this zone here, my best game was 7. I only gained 7 MMR for my best game, and the average per match again was 3. So on average, for these good performances, I'm only getting 3 for this climb. The one I actually gained most on, as I say, was 7 MMR, was actually a loss. Although we lost the game thought I did well enough, or I wasn't the one to blame for the loss, so it still put me up skill rating. And perhaps it was against difficult people, and I still individually did well. I dropped to 1.6 KD, an actual KD, not the EKI. So at 1.6 KD, I got 50 engagements, a 326 score per minute, 36% accuracy, again with 18% headshots. So the games where they're giving me the most MMR for are really strong accuracy games, really good headshot percentage games, really decently or better KDs than they were before, potentially against harder people. And the thing I want to pull out here is that a bad loss can hurt you way more than a good win. You could see from what I said before, I was getting 20, 25 less MMR, or I was reducing my hidden MMR by 20, 25 for my losses, for my bad losses playing against cheaters, which I know we can't help, but unfortunately that's what was causing it. Whereas on the other side of that, even for my really good games, a 3-0 win, a 2KD with 36% accuracy and 25% headshot percentage, I was only winning 10 MMR from that. I was only getting bumped up 10 MMR, which tells you that your bad games are going to suffer you. If you have 1 bad games and 3 good games, that's probably about going to even it out. But you got to remember, there's way more to it than the statistics. It's about who you're playing against, what guns you're using, how much you're moving, your accuracy. It's not just about one statistic. It's not just about becoming top of the leaderboard. You've got to do well for your team. You've got to win the essential gunfights, okay? You've got to beat... It's also about who you're playing against. So you've got to maintain your good KD against the good people. If the game puts you up your skill rating and you play people of that skill, and that's the one game you do well, it's going to be like, oh, they're not cut out for that, drop them down again. But hopefully there's some patterns in today's video that you can sort of see, and for those of you data nerds out there, hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you've learned somewhat what causes things to go up and down in your hidden MMR. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.